Okay. Before you comment or dislike the video, let me be clear. The Simpsons is good. Very, very good. Like surprisingly so. It hits on so many levels. Heart, comedy, satire, all of it is just a masterclass of television writing. But here's the thing. The show, while good, is also very bad. Now obviously, as is the case with any long-running show, it goes through a regular decline. You've heard the story a million times, whether it's on this channel or on any other channel or platform. The Simpsons stopped being good after season 9, blah blah. But of course, what comes after what's good does not invalidate what came before. It has already come before. You can watch it and choose not to continue. And that's the same with recommending the show. While hearing the phrase, oh, it has 36 seasons, but it gets really good again after season 32, is daunting, it does truly make you wonder. To an average audience member, when you're recommending it, how much of the show is even good? And I feel that's a very interesting question, specifically when we choose to look at the series through an analytical lens rather than an individual's opinion. Because somebody could choose to stop watching, but when you're looking at a show as a whole, you can't go out of your way to cut out parts of its history. If you look at a 3 season show and say, oh, this is really good, when only one of the 3 seasons is really decent, that's pretty false. You're setting people up for something it's not. And I feel the same way should apply to long running programs as well. So, what if we look at The Simpsons as a whole package through an analytical lens and try to figure out how much of The Simpsons is actually good? Is it worth your time? And is it overall a good show? Now, we'll be determining this by breaking down each of the eras by their showrunners, reviewing and scoring each season separately, then giving an average score to the whole era. And after we're done, we'll add up all of the averages to all of the eras to see how good is the show actually? Moving on to the actual eras of the show, those being the Matt Groening era, which is the first 2 seasons, then there's the Gene and Reese era, show ran by, you guessed it, Al Jean and Mike Reese, which consists of season 4 and season 3, or season 3 and season 4. Mirkin then took over for seasons 5 and 6, Oakley and Weinstein took over for season 7 and 8, then Scully until season 12, and Al Jean then fully took over until Matt Selman joined. And I think you get the idea. Let's go through each era, analyze the show, and give each season a score to see if The Simpsons is a good package overall or secretly garbage. Kicking off the Matt Groening era with season 1. Now, season 1 is complicated for me because it definitely has great things, and it also has some awful things. And those great things are more often than not covered away by bad animation, weird mixing over scenes, but that kind of gives it a warmth. The season does include a family feel that I feel is necessary when discussing The Simpsons, but it's definitely messy. Season 1 is like a 6 out of 10. Yeah, 6 out of 10 seems right. Season 2, on the other hand, I feel, really started the whole classic Simpsons thing. Now, I don't like to use that phrase often, so I give it an 8 out of 10. Now, to combine the scores of these seasons to show the era's average score, that leaves us with a 7 out of 10 for the Matt Groening era, seasons 1 and 2 combined. Then moving on to the early Gene and Reese era, with seasons 3 and 4. Now, season 3 is generally regarded as a good season, but is still oftentimes stumped by its sister season, season 4. And while I do prefer 3 over 4, and consider 4 to be somewhat overrated, I feel putting my opinions aside for a moment, at least for the classic era, could help give us a more rounded and fair number for when we finish off this experiment. So season 3 is flawed, but not as flawed as the previous 2 seasons, far from it. Although sharing some of their elements, season 4, especially in the animation department, really found its footing. We have episodes like Marge vs. the Monorail, Homer's Triple Bypass, and other incredible episodes. So I give season 3 a 7 out of 10, and season 4 a 9 out of 10. Making the average of the era an 8 out of 10. With us done with Gene and Reese, we now move on to David Mirkin, who was a one-man show, which is quite impressive seeing as he had to handle 2 of the show's most ambitious seasons, seasons 5 and season 6. Starting off with season 5, this season really goes all out on both the ambition and the humor. It's some of the funniest Simpsons material ever, and seeing as this show is a comedy, this is a very good sign. so I would give Season 5 a 9.5 out of 10. And Season 6, which feels like a natural evolution of Season 5's energy, although now a little tense and more laid back, it's very good. Although not to the same level as 5, I would give it a 9 out of 10, making the average of the era a 9.25 out of 10. Now we reach the Oakley and Weinstein era. They were really adamant about replicating the style of the Matt Groening era, and you can really feel this as both seasons, season 7 especially, really hammers home the heart and love between the characters. You get plenty of old-time classics in season 7. It's honestly wild to see how far this is in the show, seeing as it's such high quality. 7 years in and they're still producing banger after banger. Season 8 on the other hand, goes for a slightly different thing. It's kind of meta in its approach. It looks at the series through a more cynical lens, and not just through the plots, but our world as well, as it shows that this show has outlasted its welcome, and kind of takes a stance of acceptance on the whole matter.
Excuse me, sir. The thing is, there's not really anything wrong with the Itchy and Scratchy show. It's as good as ever. But after so many years, the characters just can't have the same impact they once had.
And I don't know if it's hopeful or depressing to watch, but I just thought that meta approach to the season was very interesting, and the fact it's the final classic season for a lot of people really makes it feel a bit creepier. I do feel that while the Simpsons prediction things are very stupid, this is the only valid prediction the show made, and it was about itself. So I think season 7 and 8 and ranking them is a bit weird because it really depends on what you're looking for in a season, but overall I think season 7 is a 9 out of 10 and season 8 is an 8 out of 10, making the average of the era an 8.5 out of 10. Now moving on to the Scully era, and unlike many fans out there, I do not think the show went downhill after Scully, or even after early Gene, so I'll try to be as fair as I can possibly be. Starting off with season 9, it does still retain all the core qualities of classic Simpsons, although now with a bit more misses akin to season 8. But while that had experimentation, this one goes for a more normal approach to its plots, filled with the classic Scully style of wacky third act and nonsensical premises. And no, that isn't the principle of the pauper, and that can cause it to feel a bit more dry than season 8, which while had more misses than usual, was usually sort of interesting in its ideas and execution. I think it's a very solid 6 out of 10. Moving on to more Scully, now taking on 3 seasons, 10, 11, and 12. Now to unpack these 3, we need to go deep into what they go for. These 3 seasons are inherently Mike Scully in their style. They get more and more absurd as they go on, but as they go on, you can feel the writer is running out of ideas, out of material, and combine that with the added absurdity, it sort of makes the plots feel incoherent, especially in seasons 11 and 12, and especially in season 11. Yes, I'm one of those fans. And season 11, if the HD era didn't exist, would be the worst season in the show. So, to score each one separately, season 10 goes for more of a transitional feel between classic Simpsons and Scully Simpsons. It still has some of that Scully in it, but it also still has witty humor and things to say. Season 11 goes a little too far. It flies a little too close to the sun, making it an incoherent, obnoxious mess. So season 10 gets an 8 out of 10. I think it's an improvement over 9. And season 11 gets a 4 out of 10. Woof, that's rough. And season 12 is in a way as crazy as season 11. But due to the decline in ideas and the writers clearly having fatigue, things quiet down. So season 12 is a 7 out of 10. So the Scully era rounds off to a 7 out of 10. Entering the Al Jean era now, the second one. It's Al Jean's show now, pretty much. He owns the entire thing after season 12. So entering it is gonna be a little complicated, only because there's 19 of them. So we're gonna break them down into different eras, only to make things easier for me, personally. Let's establish those eras. Season 13 to season 15 is the early Jean era. Season 16 to season 19 is the Jean is getting tired and so am I era. Season 20 to season 25 is the It's Over era. Season 26 to season 32 is also an era, but I can't think and I won't think of a witty name because I have 4 exams next week and I do not have time for this. And if you're wondering why I did not name the seasons after season 32, it's because that's when Matt Selman took over. And while Gene still remains a showrunner to this day, he has definitely resorted to taking a back seat in some ways. And who can blame the guy? Imagine being handed a show as big as The Simpsons. What would you do? Starting off with the early Gene era's season 13, it's hard to talk about this season because at the time of its release, it was kind of seen as this return to form. Specifically after season 12, it toned down a few of the wacky elements in favor of more classic-like stories. I wouldn't call them classic, honestly, but there's more emotional stakes now, although I don't think they're very effective, as the whole era has this meta feel to it, akin to season 11, as if the characters are aware that the show has gone on for too long and don't really care. And the same goes for the writers. The whole season has a lack of care and emotion within it. That just makes things feel average. It's not quite bad yet, but also not quite good either. You could also feel a lot of the Gene-isms, yes, I'm calling them Gene-isms, seep through this season's cracks, so I'm giving this season a very solid 5 out of 10. Season 14 continues this trend of mediocrity, although now a little more bland. Season 14's plots don't have all that much to offer. They have their moments here and there, but none of the plots are enough to really keep me engaged. But that's a personal preference. I'm very nitpicky when it comes to specific kinds of plot lines. The season's a 4.5 out of 10 for me, sorry. Season 15, on the other hand, is perhaps the best of them. Not only does it have perhaps the best Gene Treehouse of Horror, but the plots ramp up in excitement. They're more bubbly and lively, and are very much up my alley. They're silly, dumb fun, and I think that's awesome. I'll give season 15 an 8 out of 10, a huge boost from the previous two. So the average score of early Gene is a 5.83 out of 10, and wow, that is low. I didn't expect it to be this low. I wanted to come here and be different and go, The Simpsons was always good or some crap. But don't worry, we still have a few more to go. A few, meaning 15 more seasons. Our next era is the Gene is tired and so am I era, referring to, of course, season 16 to season 19. Season 16 returns us to the more fatigued season 12 to season 13 feel with its plotlines, that not only are a bit more mean-spirited for some reason, but they are also very strangely dry, as if they're squeezing the show for all it's worth, but they have not realized that it's already dead. Season 16 kind of sucks. It feels too lifeless and too stiff for my liking. I'll give it a 3.25 out of 10. Very harsh. Season 17 is more fun in a sense, but only because it has a few clear standouts. But like 2 standout episodes out of 22 is nothing impressive. But there is a few good things in this season that distinguish it from the season prior. It's definitely more fun, more experimental, so I'll give it a slightly higher score of 4.25 out of 10, wow. Season 18 is very bad, like very, very bad. Its only saving grace is it has the episode 24 Minutes, Marge Gamer and Homoratzi, with 24 Minutes being one of the best episodes of the entire series in my opinion. Just a very clever format bender, but everything around it is so dreary. We get Boys of Bummer, we get Little Big Girl. It's a dark and depressing time for our Simpsons family. I don't know, honestly, I think I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Season 19 ends off this era with a bang, a whimper. Well, it's complicated. I'm kind of half and half regarding this season. It has some really fun stuff, but it also has some real bad stuff. But I think overall, it's a step in the right direction. Or I would say if the seasons that followed weren't season 20 through season 22. But hey, it's fun. They put in more effort clearly after the movie held them back. This season is a 5 out of 10. So the average of the era is a 4.13 out of 10, which is higher than the previous era, surprisingly so. I did not expect that. Although I doubt the same will be the case for the next era, which goes from season 20 to season 25. Starting off the next era with season 20 is very weird. The HD portion of the season is very much of higher quality, but the standard definition side of the season is inconsistent to say the least. It ranges from fine to awful, and the HD era is a step up in the sense that it's fine, it isn't bad, it's just fine. This season is like a 4.5 out of 10. Season 21, on the other hand, is actually pretty good. Like, it's not like prestige television or anything, it's still modern Simpsons. But for a season that's stuck between season 20 and season 22, you'd expect it to be bad. This season is underrated, it's funny. It's like a neglected middle child, I like this season. There's even some plots here that feel like foreshadowing to the Selman era. It isn't perfect, but it's trying much harder than the previous dozen seasons. It's a 6 out of 10. And now we reach season 22. Where do you begin with season 22? Perhaps the lowest point of Simpsons history. The point where they said, hey, let's stop caring. This season includes episodes like Love is a Many Strangled Thing, Lisa Simpson, This Isn't Your Life, and many more awful episodes. This season is only challenged by season 11 and 25, and even then, season 11 is pretty good compared to this. I'll give this season a 2 out of 10, just a miserable watch all around. I don't know what to say about season 23, it's like the same thing, but slightly better, like 3.5 out of 10. Yeah, that sounds right. Oh, and this season has the episode, A Totally Fun Thing That Bart Will Never Do Again. That episode is incredible. Feels like something out of season 33 again, with Matt Selman foreshadowings. The only way I can describe season 24 is that it's forgettable, and I feel it does that to itself, not only the reused plots, but also because the way the episodes are structured is just so odd and strange, but it's still better than the previous 2 seasons. Just because it has less standout bad episodes. Nothing impressive really, a 4 out of 10. Ending off this bleak era with season 25. Season 25 is as you'd expect. It's bad. Wow, congrats, how did you know? Jokes aside though, this season is weird. I feel it's trying too hard to be like a baby of Scully and season 8 with how it takes its weird plots. It's trying to be experimental, it's trying to be weird, but it never fully commits to its absurdity. I respect the effort though, like 4 out of 10, making the total average of the era a 4 out of 10, which is very low. Now moving on to seasons 26 to 32. Now we're gonna rush through these couple of seasons, we'll have less detailed descriptions, but I say we, I don't know why I'm saying we, it's just me here. But we'll have less descriptive descriptions, and we're just gonna rush through them. We're gonna go through them. Season 26 is forgettable. It's fine, I guess, I don't know. It isn't as horrible as the previous ones. It's like 4.5 out of 10. Season 27 is alright. It's too late in the game to really get upset over anything. It's bad, but that's to be expected at this point. It's acceptable. Seasons 20 to season 25 was painful because it was the start of the era, but things have mellowed down and mediocrity has become the norm, so there's no real room to be shocked. It's a 2.5 out of 10. Season 28 is, it's bad. Forget what I said previously. This is a bad season. 2 out of 10. Moving on to season 29. I am very tired. It's 10 p.m. in the evening. Season 29 is better than season 28. That doesn't say much, does it? 3 out of 10. We enter the 30s of the Simpsons seasons. It's so weird that it's gone on for so long, and it's even weirder that we're nearing the 40th season. But that aside, this season is weird, in that Selman, who usually produces good episodes, fumbles the bag very hard this season. His episodes suck just as much as Gene, which causes the season to be the opposite of good. 2.5 out of 10, I don't know anymore. Season 31. This is the final season of this era, and Al Jean's final main season before he not retired. He's too much of a leech when it comes to this show. Like, dude, please leave. Nobody wants you here. What are you doing? Go away. But anyways, this season sucks. It's a 2 out of 10. There's no more soul or life left. Season 32 is considered by many the first of the Renaissance seasons, where the show got good again. And others think it started in season 33. But I honestly really enjoy season 32. It sets the vibe of the coming era well. It has a very special tone that's unique to the Renaissance era, and while it's not as strong as season 33, the vibe is there. It's definitely not a part of it. It's kind of the season 9 effect, where it has enough of the vibe to be considered part of the era, but it's different enough to be transitional. It's a 5.5 out of 10. The total average of the era is a 3.14 out of 10. Now we move on to the Renaissance era, from season 33 to season 35. We're not gonna count 36, as it hasn't fully aired yet as of the making of this video. We enter the official Renaissance era. And yeah, it's pretty good, it's fun. Nothing too prestige, of course, not close to the quality of classic era, but they try much harder. There's fun plots here, and storylines that really make you think, really gets you invested in these characters again. It's a 6 out of 10, the best in a long time. My hot take on season 34 is I think it's slightly better than season 33. They're starting to get their groove more, plots are stronger, things are really starting to get going. Also a very Bart-centric season I noticed, I think that's fun. They're starting to give more attention to their characters, as proven by the focus on Bart. It's a 6.5 out of 10. Season 35, the final one we have. It's good, it's a Marge season, there's a ton of Marge focus, and it's good. I don't think it's as strong as season 34, but overall, it's fun. It's a 6 out of 10. Making the total average of the Renaissance era a 6.17 out of 10, the highest in a long time. Okay, now to tally up all the average scores of the eras to determine if The Simpsons as an overall package is good or not. Now, the score of The Simpsons as a whole, drumroll please, is a 6.30 out of 10, which is surprisingly a very high score. So yes, by definition, The Simpsons is a good show. Not a great show, but a good show. A fine show. Although if you want it to be a great show, don't look past season 15. You know, it's funny, I went into this video with the mindset of it's not gonna be another Simpsons overview video. It's not gonna be a zombie Simpsons video. But it pretty much was just that, but with numbers. I guess that makes it okay. Yeah, I think so. I have original ideas because I put numbers in it. Take that, real gyms.
The guy who watched The Simpsons back in 1994 and won't admit the damn thing isn't funny anymore.